sina fiender
And now, coming to you live from atop the Goldenrod City radio tower, it's the one, the only, PUCL TCGcast!
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the PUCL TCGcast with your new host, Basket. We've got a great episode for you guys today, all about the new set rotation for 2021. And here to help me not make a mudbray out of myself, we have R Sigma.
Hello.
And Lord Jushiro.
Some say.
Alright, so we've got a really fun, really awesome episode for you guys where we're going to talk about the different decks that are going to be just absolutely destroyed post-rotation, as well as the decks that are going to maybe get a boost, stay in, or the brand new ones that are going to just make waves.
The ones that bloom.
Yes. Alright, so without further ado, let's move on to Topical Beach.
Grab your ice-cold Corsola Cola and pull up a chair. It's time for Tropical Beach.
Now I want you to take 1 second during these trying times to close your eyes. Let's feel the sun on our skin, the sand between our toes, and the cool breeze ruffling those luscious locks as we go over the 2021 rotation. So guys, we're going to start here with the old and busted. Alright, what decks have just become unplayable post-rotation?
Mm.
And we're going to start you out, Sigma, with Mill Control and Stall.
Yeah, so Mill is dead. One of their best cards was Oranguru, which was released all the way back in, I don't even remember it. I think it was Ultra Prism. But it allowed you to shuffle 3 cards back into your deck, which meant you got to live forever, which was very dumb. So that's gone. And then on top of that, they also banned Bellbella and Bryson Man, like at the start of the season. So deck's just dead. You still have Pokédoll around if you want to stall out, and I guess Cinchino is still a card for it, but otherwise, like, all of your old tools are gone, so.
So the question is this, like, good riddance or not?
For now, I think it's good riddance. I think Boss's Orders and Arceus Dialga Palkia's GX move, kind of just don't let it exist. For a mill deck, I guess Scorch still exists, but it just can't beat ADP, I don't think. Because ADP gets extra prizes, so it only has to kill 3 Scorch, and...
Right.
Yeah.
Alright, so Mill is dead.
For now.
Moving on to Malamar.
Until next time.
Yeah, until next time. Alright, so moving on to Malamar. Now, if you don't know about Malamar, you've been asleep for the last, 2-3 years?
Yeah, or just started playing now.
Mm-hmm. Or just started playing, yeah. So if you didn't just start playing, then there's no excuse. Basically, this card, it is its own deck, but it's also a staple in so many other decks. Mm-hmm. And it's because of its ability, Psychic Recharge. Once during your turn, before your attack, you can attach a Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. Mm-hmm. It is absurd, and it just pushes everything, like, it pushes all Psychic Pokemon far, far ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It accelerates to no end.
Being a stage 1 is, like, the most important part of that, because, like, we had Blaziken, and it did the same thing. Well, actually, yeah, I think it did the exact same thing, but it's a stage 2, and you're not playing a stage 2 for that ability.
It's hard
Metagross
to get
GX
out.
did too, I think, but...
Nobody got time for that.
Not to
cared.
mention that Mysterious
Treasure's gone with
Mysterious Treasure would allow it to get it real quick for the price of just one card discarded from your hand, so it would make it real easy to, by the end of your second turn, to have already the 2 in case you need to evolve to Malamar and accelerate that energy.
Alright, Jushiro, Want to take up Grand Bull?
Of course, Grand Bull. Now, this is a deck that I had so much fun with back when I was streaming. It is a deck real simple to build, right? Grand Bull relies on one attack for one energy, and going off for what Sigma said last time, being a stage 1 helps a lot, and this is all out. It's attack all out for just one fairy energy, rip. If you have no cards in your hand, this attack does 130 more damage. If you have cards on your hand, it does only 30. Now, the fun part about this game was using all the trainers and energies and Pokemon that you have to make sure to have no cards on your hand. So this would take advantage of Ultra Ball, rip. This would take advantage of Mystery Treasure, rip. And all these cards that allow you to just get rid of things from your hand or play them, so you'll be able to, at the end of the turn, by one energy, do 130 damage in a meta where 130 damage would certainly try to two-hit KO a few things. Not to mention that it was great math to get rid of some of those stage 2s that were exactly 130 HP, such as Vigavolt and others that were really a threat.
Yeah, and shout out to Nicolas Galaz, sorry if I absolutely butchered that name, from Chile, for getting 31 points using Grand Bull.
It is definitely a fun deck more than it was an effective one.
I think it had a resurgence like right at the end, but
yeah, I mean, like, this is one of the things that I liked about that deck is with the whole power creep, it's so difficult to find decks that can compete with these giant HP Pokemon. But something that you're only getting one prize card for is helping you out immensely with that trade-off. So it's not surprising that they were able to find something like this that could kind of work and had some success. So I'm always sad when I see stuff like that go away. But then again, I never ran Grand Bull, so
I played with
I'm
it
not
a
too
little
sad.
It's fun it's a fun puzzle to get your hand to 0 so you could attack. And then
it was
that you could still
fun.
do it with like the use of your Orangaroos and your Magmar, or not Magmars, Magcargos, to set up the top of your deck and draw 3 cards. Ooh. It was the day. Good times.
Yeah, it was a real, like, mind bender. Alright, so now we're gonna go and move on from the absolute dead decks to the ones that are still hanging in on there. Like, these, with some help, might be able to jump back in, but they're still not too bad right now. You want us to take us off, Sigma?
Yeah. First up is one of the big monsters from our last format that just rotated out, which was Dragapult VMAX. It lost a few things, like the skateboard for its Jirachi. It can't benefit from Giratina that came back from the discard pile and spread a little extra damage around, and it lost its Malamar friend, but it still is a deck that can exist. One of the big sources of decks right now we have is Hexter's online tournament that's like 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. But it's made top 16 once so far, so it's still around. But the main thing holding it back right now is Eternities exists, and Eternities is popular.
Oh yeah.
It just one-shots the poor
counter.
Dragapult. One of Dragapult's other weaknesses is that its attack takes 2 psychic energy, so its weakness policy I don't think is in the format right now, and it can't use the weakness guard energy because it needs the psychic energy on it. So, unlike grass decks that can get around the fire weakness, it's kind of stuck. So, but it might come back if Eternities gets less popular, which could take a while, but it's still around.
Yeah, like I didn't play a whole lot of Dragapult because it was, I don't know, I have this aversion to playing like big name, really good decks. Like I've played I could count the amount of times I've played an ADP deck like on one hand, just because I hate the idea of just like, I know this is the best deck, arguably, and my chances of winning just by having this deck like go up exponentially.
Right.
Like that kind of bothers me a little bit. So, and I was kind of upset about that because I love Dragapult as a Pokemon itself, and I love the way that the deck played. It was too good for me to like really get behind it and have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Well, I got
and
news for you. Rotation just made that.
no, I know. That's exactly you're seeing where I'm going with this.
Yep.
Now I'm going to be all about the Dragapult.
Rotation has solved that problem for you.
Yeah, probably to my detriment. All right, so moving on, we're going to talk about Picaram. So Picaram, it's losing some things, but the whole thing about it is that, I mean, it's Picaram. I mean, you have the Pikachu and Zekrom GX tag team that pretty much does everything else everything that you're trying to do in like one card, but everything else helps power it up infinitely quicker. So it's kind of like boo-hoo, like I'm sorry, I guess.
It lost a lot of speed. It lost a lot of power, losing electric power. So it's understandable that it didn't come out of the gates super strong because Eternities is quite strong. It's hitting like 270 and hitting 150 on your second turn probably is okay, which is sad to say, but at least it has Vikavolt now. I've seen lists still getting up there, not nearly as prevalent as it was.
Right.
Oh, online was every other deck was Picaram before the rotation because Vikavolt should not be played with Thunderous Mountain like that. That's not. That's fine for expanded, but
To our expanded friends.
for that 2 weeks of standard where like everything was legal. Ew.
I mean, I have to admit, I'm so biased against this deck. Like, I hated this deck. Every time I saw that card, it was just like, oh, you jerk.
I love this deck.
Tell us why you're sad then.
Well, everything needs to go to pasture when its time is done. And Picaram
We're taking Picaram out in the back for its pork chop.
We're going to take Picaram back in the back and, at least shoot it in the leg. Because Sigma just pointed out it lost a lot of power and speed. And that's a lot, right? It
used to be able to attack turn
instant
1.
plus 30 by an item card is no longer there. Having a Stadion that would get rid of your 1 energy cost from your electric attackers, Jolteon, could attack with only 1 energy. And you could use Picaram abilities much faster. That's out. So with that, it is going to take, not a miracle, but it's going to take a lot of work for Picaram to be back into the meta. So let's see how that goes. Honestly, it's sad to see how it got depowered, but at the same time, it's time to move on. We need to refresh. This is why rotations exist, honestly, is to refresh the meta and start anew and start planning new stuff. And I think that's where we're headed.
Well, the next set looks to have a nice lightning focus, so I might get a couple new tools from that.
Oh yeah,
The face card is Pikachu VMAX, so
right,
I think it'll be okay.
Right, and unlike Psychic and Psychic, which now is weak against Dark, which makes it a problem with Eternities, and unlike the problem with Granbull with Fairy, which is that Fairy doesn't exist anymore, at least Picaram does have the advantage that Lightning is still a relevant and powerful type.
Yeah, Lightning is going to get more support. I'm not worried about
right.
it. So
it
just lost like one of its big sets
top.
is gone. So now it needs to wait for its next big set. And
exactly,
that's coming very soon.
Hey PUCLonians, it's Sublime Manic. Can't get enough of your favorite flip-flopping podcast? Then check out our social media. You can find links to our Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube all from our website, PUCLpodcast.com. And you can join our Discord to hang out with your favorite hosts and other PUCLonians. Also, check us out at twitch.tv/thePucklePodcast. And if you have an Amazon Prime account, consider subscribing to our Twitch channel. You can also check us out at YouTube at YouTube/PucklePodcast. And we also have a Patreon if you're able to give anything at patreon.com/PucklePodcast.
All right, so we'll move on to the solid reliable Old Faithful picks. Jushiro, start us out.
It is so weird to see, say, ADP and Sacian as Old Faithful, because I feel like they just were added to the meta, but it's just because COVID has made it that just days meshed together, and what I thought was a year, what I thought it was a week has been a year.
Yeah, it's almost been a year since they got together. Oh.
Right, but it's true. It is ADP has been stable since its emergence. For those of you at home that just don't know what ADP is, Arceus and Dialga and Palkia GX is a tag team threesome, which has really all you need to know is its GX attack is beyond meta transforming, and that is Altered Creation GX. For the rest of the game, for just one metal.
One metal and one water. You're never using it for just one metal.
Right. Your Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness. Well, you know that. If it has at least one extra energy, water energy, just like Sigma said, your opponent's active Pokemon is, when they're knocked out, you get one more prize, which is what we were mentioning, how this made Mildex an issue, and that because that price trade-off is no longer a benefit for smaller decks against ADP. The fact that you can get two prizes by eliminating a non-GX, non-V card really, really puts a hamper on those economic cheap decks where, well, that trade-off is no longer that great. Now, you might think, yeah, well, but that means that your GX attacks that you're fighting give 3 instead of 2, and that is true, but it's still smaller decks that do require on that price trade is because they take longer to set up. They take longer to get that ball rolling, so that snowball, so it gets bigger and bigger down the hill, and then eventually becomes too big for you to stop it. It really does limit the space in which that ball can roll. And Alter Creation allowed that. Now, when you combine that with Sacian V is... It's just crazy. So remember that you're just not only giving one extra prize, but you're also giving all your attackers plus 30 immediately without anything else for the rest of the game. That means that good old Sacian, which has the ability to interpret soul, which allows it to set up incredibly fast, has that Braid Blade for 3 metal energy, does 130, and then the next turn you don't get to attack. We're familiar with that flavor of attack. If you use Switch, it doesn't really matter. And as we just discussed, 260, that 230 plus 30 more, is the sweet spot you want to hit to be able to kill bigger things that are on the meta right now. So this foursome of Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia alongside with Sacian has been something that has continued rolling on, and it's going to continue to be very much awake in this new meta.
Yeah, it's a scary deck, especially with Metal Saucer. Usually it's getting its Altered Creation off, maybe even turn 1, because it'll play the energy switch. So it can just move an extra energy from a Metal Saucer onto ADP, activate Altered Creation turn 1, and oops. And the fact that so many decks are playing the support cards of Dedenne and Crobat right now, and the deck just one-shots both of those. It's bye.
Oh, and can we talk about how, so it's losing Metal Frying Pan. Oh no, because it's got Cape of Toughness coming in.
Right, and now it only has 280. What will it do?
Yeah, so now it gets plus 50 HP.
They have Metal Goggles still, too. It's they can't get rid of their weakness anymore, but well, actually, they can't get rid of their weakness right now.
Yeah. Yeah, little asterisks at the end of the first sentence there.
The new special metal energy gets rid of their weakness for them again. It's fine. Though, they can't get it off of Brave Blade. So at least that's a thing. Yikes. And one of their worser matchups is Eternities again. But they have... Once again, they can either Altered Creation and just go for Crobats, because Eternities plays Crobats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they have Zamazenta, and Eternities has a really, really hard time against Zamazentas. Or Zamazenta V, which is immune to VMAX Pokemon.
Yeah, it's strong. It's strong and it's staying.
It's a very nice answer to a lot of the strong VMAX Pokemon in the meta, including Scorch too. But namely Eternities, you can just sit there and laugh. Especially if you have the goggles. You're just not taking anything from their Pokemon.
Alright, Sigma. Let's do Mewtwo and Mew.
Alright. Mewtwo and Mew lost half of the GXs in the format. Considering their ability lets them use any attacks of the GX Pokemon in the discard or on the battlefield, it was a blow, but they're still in the format. So that's the main way Mewtwo and Mew are still operating. There's some Charizards with some stupid strong attacks still. There's other things with colorless attacks, including the Naganadel GX. I know Incineroar GX is being shown up in these decks, which does 130 for 3 colorless and destroys the unbasic energy. So, still a strong deck, does a lot of damage. It didn't show up at the Players' Cup, but it's been popular in the online tournaments. And another version of it is playing the Water GX cards that are still around, like Blastoise, and combining it with Frostmoth. Blastoise and Keldeo, I think, are the 2 big ones. And Greninja, I guess, too. From Detective Pikachu.
Oh, of course.
There you go, Jushiro. All right, now we're moving on to Obstagoon, which has now gotten a boost from the new Decidueye. Basically, the name of the game is Spread, and they're losing...
It's Spread and immunity, essentially, because Decidueye is immune to V Pokemon and GX Pokemon. And
yes.
Obstagoon's immune to basic Pokemon. So between those two, you are protected from a lot of decks.
And then with the Decidueye, now I can't remember. Nobody's playing Sableye with the Decidueye anymore, are they?
You can. Like, it's a nice one-up just to finish off a game. Maybe 2 of them. You can combine Sableye into those decks. It's a different deck at this point. This is essentially what your stall deck is now. It's like, I'm just going to sit here and just hit you for a bunch because you can't hit me at all.
Death of 1,000 cuts.
Right. It's like if you're only a V deck, like if you don't tech it in or if your one tech is prized, it's like, I guess you can't win. So it's fun to watch like the fire decks try to find their Volcanions. It's like, my Volcanion's the only thing that can hit Decidueye, I guess. So that's how that deck plays out these days.
All right, we want to move on to Intellion VMAX Sigma.
Yeah, Intellion was at the Players' Cup, played by Tord, which is like one of the best players in the game.
Yeah, and that was fun to watch.
He was really good with that deck. The main thing you do is you get your Frostmoth out, you play your Water Energy, and then you use Intellion VMAX to spread some damage onto the little guy, or your opponent's Crobats and Dedenne, so you can one-shot them later and get a bunch of prizes.
Yeah.
It's a nice deck, it's a strong deck that just snipes the bench, because no one's playing Mew anymore. It's weird. But Intellion is a solid card for right now.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching it. Like, there's so many pieces of this puzzle, and watching Tord just force those puzzle pieces together time after time was so much fun.
Yeah, like, I don't think this deck got anything apart from like maybe a Crobat from the new set. It's been here since Sword and Shield, but now's its time to shine. So
yeah, I'm a little worried for it because it's gonna like the prevalence of electric.
Oh yeah, that's probably why it wasn't played, because Picaram was like the deck.
Yeah. All right, so now we are moving on to the new hotness. Jushiro, take us away with Eternities VMAX.
You guys have heard us talk about it all through this episode, mentioning Eternities this and Eternities that. Well, now we're gonna give you the reason as to why this bad boy is being mentioned a lot, and it's because he's setting up the new format. This guy is basically Rayquaza EX, but it sets itself up. You don't need a stadium. So let me explain. Standing at a just measly, tiny little 340 HP, this guy has an ability named Eternal Zone. The ability is all of your Pokemon in play are Dark type. If all your Pokemon in play are Dark type, you can have up to 8 Pokemon on your bench, and you can't put any non-Dark Pokemon in play. Now, if you remove this ability, you will have to discard the extra bench, but that's not a problem. Now, why does this guy has its own Sky Pillar already built into the card? Well, because its attack is Dread N, which I must say, they nailed the name here. With 1 darkness and 1 colorless, it does 30 times the amount of damage for each darkness Pokemon in play. And you can do the math. When you have 30 plus and you have 8 bench that boosts up the strength, this guy can end up doing just massive amount of damage with just 2 energies attached to it. And one of them is a darkness. It is incredibly, I'm sorry, one of them is colorless. So it's incredibly powerful. And what makes it even better is the fact that since it works by itself, just throw in whatever darkness Pokemon you want. You guys want to use Obstagoon, which allows you to put down an extra damage counter every time you do it. Do it. You like Crow, the new Crobat, every time you play it, it also damages. Do it. Anything you can that is darkness, you can apply it to Eternities, and you know it's going to be good. It is, ladies and gentlemen, the new Charizard. It is the new Mewtwo. It is the new menace to society. It is definitely a great, great deck.
There's a reason it's just all over the place. All right, Sigma, take us to the home stretch with Scorch VMAX.
All right. The other big new deck that has come out of the new set is Scorch. Nice fire deck. Does a lot of damage. So it does 40 plus 40 for every fire energy attached to it. And you get an extra fire energy from your discard at the same time. So it's just doing massive damage and growing bigger as it goes. It also gets to take use of the new fire energy that adds HP to it. So while 320 is not the greatest HP total.
Oh my god, I can't believe that sentence was just told.
Right. I mean, VMAXs range from like 300 to 340, I think, right now.
No, you're 100% right. It's just weird to say it out loud. That 320 is not as high as it could be.
I mean, when you're looking at alternatives that add 340, it's like 320 is like, it could be better. Yeah. Which, luckily, it's a fire Pokemon, so it can be. So it's just hitting for a lot of damage. Easy to get those fire energy out because of Welder. And it's just a force to be reckoned with. It's the go-to fire deck that isn't Mewtwo right now.
Right.
Basket's going to cover that in the next segment, so I don't even have to say it.
I have to say, I am worried for Fire. And the reason why I'm worried for Fire is that Fire is holding all of their eggs in the basket called Welder.
Yeah, Fire's going to be real sad after next rotation.
Next rotation, once Welder is out and nothing comes in to replace it, I'm afraid that Fire will go back to the piles at the end of the barrel, where nobody's going to play it because it just has no way of keeping up.
Where it's been for the last 20 years.
Exactly. Right back there. It did see some light once we had, what was it? Not Welder, the one previous Welder. I forgot the name. Something similar, which allowed you to gain...
Blacksmith? Is that what you're talking about?
Blacksmith, thank you. We had Blacksmith back then, so that helped a lot. And now with Welder, but if that acceleration is gone, Fire really ends up being a little bit too slow.
Yeah, I'm worried for Fire in the future.
Yeah,
but we have a year.
Yeah, we have a year still where it's still relevant. So let's take advantage of that.
I mean, luckily it only needs 2 fire energy to attack, so Scorch could survive a Welderless world, maybe.
Yeah,
we'll have to see. But now we're going to move on to those 2020 TCG decks who did their Venusaur best.
Before you marches a Titan. Do not be ashamed of the fear inside you. Embrace it as you witness the Venusaur best.
Look, you guys, it's a Venusaur.
All right. Now, I don't want you to get it twisted. The Venusaur best is also about spunk, attitude, perseverance, and reckless abandon. And speaking of reckless abandon, let's talk about Dan Huger's Scorch deck versus that heat-proof Bronzong in the Players' Cup Finals. Dan did a great job reaching that point, and to get stopped by just this brick wall without any way around it must have been so irritating. You worked really hard, man, and you deserve to be in the Venusaur Hall of Fame. Maybe you should have brought a double, though.
Yeah, double or Cramorant. Like, that's all your fire deck needs to stop those Bronzong. Just a normal type attacker. So I guess I'll go next. I've been watching these tournament results, and for the past 2, which would be Wednesday and Friday based on when we're recording this, a Golisopod Aerodactyl deck has been making that top 32, but not quite breaching into the top 16.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that at the very bottom of the list.
Yep, he's trying. And it's probably based on this new Lysopod from the new set, Darkness Ablaze, where it does 30 plus 50 for each V and GX Pokemon your opponent has in play. Turns out lots of people are playing Denes, lots of people are playing Crobats, even when they're not playing like V and GX Pokemon in the front. And ooh boy, that guy can hit hard. For a DCV, which we have Twin Energy in the format, it can just use that. So the Lysopod's hitting real hard.
I love this.
Paired with Aerodactyl GX, which despite being a fossil, we have that great stadium still around, the fossil laboratory or whatever it is, that lets you put stage 1 fossil, search your deck for 2 stage 1 fossils and put them into play and end your turn. Like, it's a solid Pokemon. It does super effective damage against Eternities, which is...
Oh yeah, there you go.
The big issue is trying to power it up, I'm sure. Though, I'd imagine they probably play... I feel like you can play... Yeah, triple acceleration energy would do it with a fighting energy. And it does, 120 plus times 2 to an Eternities, so that's 240. Or it has its GX attack that does 50 times the number of energy on your opponent's active Pokemon, which is usually going to be nice. Especially when its ability makes their opponent's basic Pokemon's attacks cost 1 more. So, it's an exciting deck that I hope starts to do better. I hope they can get there.
Well, Sigma...
That would be super cool to see. Sorry, go ahead, Jushiro.
But, Sigma, I'm going to take your 240, 220, I'm going to race you 300. And that is because a small little boy who's been really trying hard since it's come out to try and do big things, is still trying to do big things. And I'm talking about good old Slowbro. Now, this Slowbro from Unbroken Bonds is fascinating. Its attack, 3 strikes, does 100 times damage. Wow. Now, what does that time depend on? Well, it depends on coins. And you guys know how I feel about flippy cards. They're not my favorite. But in this case, it does. Flip 3 coins. This attack does 100 damage for each heads. Now, if all of them are tails, you lose this game. So that's basically the gamble you're taking with Slowbro, that if you flip 3 coins...
That's awesome.
And
you just lose the game.
So Slowbro here takes advantage of a smaller card called Glimwood Tangle. Glimwood Tangle says it's a stadium, and it indicates once during your each player's turn, after that player flips any coins for an attack, they may ignore all resorts of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. Now, you might want to start using that in case you have those 3 tails, or unless you're incredibly unlucky and then have 6 tails, and then you should lose that game at that point. I mean, Arceus is not on your side. So it's trying, man. It's trying really hard to do a thing. I mean, it's a potential 300 damage, minimum 100, right? If you get at least 1 hit, which is what you're aiming for. If you get all 3 tails, well, you know what happens. But it's great fun. It's basically playing a casino game in Pokemon. Flip coins, let's see how it goes. You might actually kill that Pokemon, or you might lose the game. You can pair it with Dedenne, Marshadows, you can use Articuno, and it just has a lot of support being water. So, the attack cost is just 1 water and 2 colorless, so it's not that hard to acquire that quantity to get there, thanks to water's ability to be a little bit quick on the acceleration part.
You have Frostmoth, you have Blastoise to help.
Right. And then, in case you're not ready, you still have Yawn, which, it's his first attack, and, does for 1 water, you can put your opponent to sleep, which is not a bad status effect to have. Now, again, Slowbro...
Yeah, that's one of the things, sorry to interrupt you, but that's one of the things that stood out to me too. It's like, the 3 strikes thing, it's like, oh, that's really fun. That's a really cool gimmick. And then the fact that it has Yawn as well, it's like, that's just awesome. Like, cause you're going for 2-hit knockouts with this card for, like the big beefy, cards that you're going to be playing against. So that Yawn's actually that pairs really well.
So Slowbro's there, it's hanging on. I mean, it has the potential to do 300 damage in 1 attack if you're lucky enough. And you can bypass its losing the game with Glimwood Tangle somewhat. So, hey, if you really like playing risky, high risk, high rewards decks, then good old Unbroken Bond Slowbro is right for you. He really is trying his Venusaur best. Not to mention being weak to Venusaur, because it's weak to grass.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, that's the end of our show. I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves immensely. So happy to have had you guys here. Jushiro, always a pleasure. Sigma, you're the best. All right, guys, we're signing off.
Time to say our goodbye.